Is there anything you want to say or not? Would you like go like this or something?
I'm
Or are we just
waiting.
gonna
I'm waiting.
stand?
You can stand here.
Nobody's watching yet. How about that? Is that better?
Can you promise me that through the whole thing?
Yeah, just a few. Give people a chance to join.
Good evening. I'm Holly Smith. I'm mayor of the city of Sanibel, proud mayor. And today is day 9. And I want to just tell you, I'm telling you every day what day it is because we're recording history right now. And I think it's going to be important for us to say day 9, day 10, day 20, day 60, so we can see where we're going, where we've been, and where we are right now. So I think it's important. So that's why I do that, because we're seeing how far we've come, and we're going to see how far we're going to get, all of us together. Today I had the opportunity to get out to the island. I was with the city manager, Dana Souza, and a couple others on our boat. We did a tour, and today was the first day that I got into my home. So, like you, I didn't know what the inside of my home was going to be. We are all sharing the same frustrations, the same anxieties, really not knowing what's going to happen, but knowing that we are going to rebuild and that we are going to have the opportunity together to rebuild the best city and let the world watch us do that. And I know that we're going to be able to do that. And I want to show you something that I picked up in my yard. This is my dad. This picture was not scarred. It was my dad, and he was a sea captain. And for him to get through the storm and have this scarred the way it is means so much to me. And we're all going to find what those scars are, and we're going to know that those scars will heal. And I'm going to frame this just the way it is. It's not the only one I have, but this is the most important one that I'll have. And we're all going to have those stories. So, to my dad, Captain Pete. When we came across on the boat today, we were able to see the work that is going on the bridge. And we saw vehicles going across the A-span, going one way and coming back. What they have done in a 24-hour period, my vocabulary isn't big enough to tell you the words I'm thinking inside. It was absolutely amazing. They were on the A-span, across that spoil island, and starting in the B-span. We have photos that will get out, that the work that's being done is being done so quickly and with the support of so many coordinating agencies to make sure that we get done what we need to get done. And I couldn't be more proud to see what happened today. A couple of things I just want to note. When you go to the island and see your properties, again, we need you to be careful. We've talked about people falling. One of my friends slipped. There was an alligator around, so remember the alligators, and she fractured her wrist. So we can never know, and she's fine, but I just want you to remember what we've told you, because we mean it. You've got to be very careful. Those conditions out there in many of the areas are very hazardous. And look, I can slip and fall in a second, but I'm not going to bounce back as I used to do when I was younger. So be careful when you get to those properties. And we understand everyone wants to get out there, see their property, start to mitigate the damage. I do too. I saw my house today. It's damaged. But I'm going to be working the way I'm supposed to do to bring that back to what I know it can be. So be careful. I've also heard, unfortunately, about scams. We've heard scams on Facebook. I was just, Councilmember Miller, who's sitting here beside me, Councilmember, hello. He showed me a letter that was sent to us about someone that is out on the island. They were removed, but they've now set up a donation page. Be careful where you donate. Be careful that your heartstrings aren't pulled in a direction that isn't something that you should be donating to. We also want to be careful of when you're looking for transportation in those means. If you question it, if you think it's too much, it probably is. So I can't tell you what's the right amount, what's the wrong amount, but you're going to know scams, and you've got to keep your eyes open for them. Protect yourselves, protect those around you that might not know how to protect yourselves. We are a community that takes care of each other, and we should be letting all of our neighbors know the areas that we need to think about. So spread that word. And with that, I just wanted to be very brief. Thank you for being here. Thank you for everyone that's listening out there. And I'm going to turn this over to Dana Souza as he tells us the other logistics that have been taking place today. So thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilman. Let me just hit save before I lose everything that I wrote before I came on. Don't tell me I did it. Give me 1 second.
I can keep talking.
I think I'm good. It just closed, actually. Okay. It was a great day today, October 7th. We had a lot done where we had some sort of gaps in information, and it wasn't from miscommunication issues, just things that we had to learn about different operations. Because every time we advance something, whether it's letting residents come back or barge service increases, I told you the really big barge came in town, and that meant that we had to make some modifications at the landing zone on the island. That there's just some funkiness that goes along with that, and some of it's stressful and some of it is just organization, but and it's expected. But it all really went very well today. I want to start out with thank yous, and I'm going to continue to do this because there's a lot of unsung heroes that are out there, and so we'll highlight people and some of the contributions that they are making. So first, in a previous update, I mentioned that the structural safety team structural safety inspection team was going out to the island to assess homes, but we had the strike force that came in and did that property assessment for us, which is up on our website. So these folks went out on one day and they did a great job in the work that they did. They covered the east end. They got placards up on the building. They took photos, which we weren't getting from the FEMA folks on the ground. And those were some of the first photos that we're able to get back out. I don't have a list of their names, but it was an army of people that went out there. Councilman Miller was one of them. Several people have contributed to that. So I just really want to say thank you. And we might need you again. Because there might be, as we go through this process of examining our house and getting repairs done, we might need them for another task. So please thank I want to mention the Community Housing and Resources, which is an organization, nonprofit organization on the island. They have a mission to provide affordable housing for families and individuals who either work on the island or serve the island. And they lost a lot of housing during this storm. And so people who have been helped by the organization and live in the units that are provided in affordable housing on Sanibel have all been displaced. So CHR is looking, if there's anybody that might be in the room or be watching us on Facebook Live, they're looking for units that they might be able to move people into and keep them in an affordable housing situation. So if you can help, CHR's website is sanibelchr.org. You can also donate on their website. Folks have been asking, how can we help? Can we contribute funds? As soon as you open their site, there's a menu that pops up and tells you how you might be able to donate or help in this situation. They do great work all the time. They're there for us every day. And the city also supports that organization. So I hope that people will too in time of need. One of our unsung heroes, I asked her to come down and she said, did you want me to take notes today? And I said, no, Scotty Lynn's gonna come down. But I want Crystal just to stand up and you can come over to the folks at Facebook Live. On a normal day, routine, week, however you want to count it, Crystal is the Administrative Services Director, and that includes HR, special events processing, you name it, whatever somebody isn't doing, or there's something that falls into the cracks. Crystal's the one that helps. What?
Risk management.
Risk management, yes, which is huge in this event, right? Something that falls in the cracks, Crystal picks it up. And she's done a great job upstairs in helping managing the team that's servicing all the folks from our remote city hall. She makes sure we're fed. She makes sure we have rooms. She tells us when the hot water came back on. All those really important things. So thank you, Crystal. So just a quick note, USART damage assessment tool that's on the website continues to get updated. We have the team that IT organized and sent out on the island, and they've been out for the last 2 days taking a photo of every structure on the island, because that was a gap that we had from the USAR team. And we wanted to provide that. So they've been out filling that void, and as soon as they're all available, they'll all be up on that map so you can look at your risk assessment and also get a picture of what the property looks like. And 20 years from now, it'll be a great document for people to look at and understand how this community has recovered. So on the police side, first I'll say that Chief Dalton's in the front of the room, and we had an issue this morning when we were trying to, the boat traffic was increasing. There were folks that wanted to get commercial units on the island, and we weren't ready for that yet. And the chief went to the island early this morning, coordinated with Crowder Gulf, other agencies that are using that, and really had it in order by the time I got to the island this morning. And it was difficult work because everybody wants access to that, right? And we're not used to, I've said it before, we're not used to having the barge service. So he took that thing that was funky this morning, he and Deputy Chief Thompson and all of his team, and made it right. So that was great work. Sanibel continues to have our curfew between the hours of 7 p.m. and 7 a.m. Third day of the return, and everything was orderly. Vehicles still cannot be driven, and we had less vehicles driving on the island. When I was on the island and I was with the mayor the entire time that I was there, we saw police stopping folks in the checkpoints. We saw the National Guardsmen with a presence out there in multiple locations. So we're grateful for the security that we have out there. Streets update. I mentioned yesterday that 100% of the roads were cleared for access. And so now they're continuing to make sure that we have wider roads. And that was visible to me when I went back today. Crowder Gulf crew was working on the east end for that work to make sure that the roads were bigger, had wider access. More than 50% is complete now. We also had a mobile tire repair truck delivered to the island today, which you have no idea how important that is. We were driving around today and the light came on that our air pressure was low, and we drove right to Public Works and they fixed our flat immediately. They were able to put a patch in it. We're also, Crowder Gulf is working on having a full-time mobile mechanic on the island, because we have 2 mechanics who work for the city, and there's been a lot of work to do. We can use some help, and once we start getting smaller equipment on there, that need will increase. We continue to move vegetative debris off city assets, so those could be used as we start to return some services when the bridge is repaired. That those parking lots and other places will be available to be used. And then Public Works is having a meeting tomorrow with Crowder Gulf to really start digging into the debris removal and the staging areas. So we have 11 sites, perhaps 14 sites that we can store debris as we take it off the street. But is that going to be enough for the amount of debris that we have? So there has to be a deeper coordination in terms of, will there be incinerators on the island like there was after Hurricane Charlie? Will they start to haul debris off by the barges on a daily basis? but we'll get deeper into that now that those assets are coming onto the island. Utilities, Tetra Tech, Army Corps of Engineers, and our staff were there today to assess the plant, which was a commitment that the governor had made that Tetra Tech would come in and assess all communities that had damaged wastewater systems, and that assessment happened today. The staff assessment continues today, and with the reclaim distribution system that we are producing that, and 85% of the Donax plant has been assessed, but it's still working manually. We have some, I don't know the details yet, but some electrical components. They've identified the electrical components that are going to need to be replaced, and that was all good advance work for Tetra Tech arriving today. We also received 6 generators from FEMA for the lift stations, and those are really important because once we start moving wastewater through our transmissions lines, we need operable generators at those locations, so we're grateful that those arrived today. Big news from LCEC today. The barge was landing when I got my update from Tricia Dorn just before I came downstairs. There will be 24 trucks on the island tonight, which is just the start of the getting 500 linesmen in there. And the barge also, it has new poles and wires, so they're starting to move their equipment in. They will be airlifting in materials tomorrow, not the trucks, but materials that they can drop in their staging area. That will start to arrive tomorrow. Yesterday I said they were working on the school site to have their tent city. Today they secured, it's all secured for them to have tent city at the school site, and that will be where their people will stage every night after they finish their work, bring their trucks back to that. And they've also told me that once they're done with that operation, that they'll restore the site, whatever damage it incurs. They're also using the community house parking lot for a truck staging area, so when they need to set up the tent city, so they don't want all the trucks there, but so we'll be using that parking lot, and we thank the community house and Roger Grogman for working to get that completed. Island Water, more great news. They brought up 2 more reverse osmosis trains, which is, all the water that comes to the pipe to your homes has to go through that reverse osmosis treatment. And so 2 more trains were brought on and 2 more wells were brought on. So that means there are 5 RO trains and 5 wells that are now running, and we have 15 wells on at the plant. So that's Island Water Association. They're now producing 2,100 gallons of water per minute, and my phone is ringing in my hearing aids. Let me just put that off. It's annoying, but I forget to turn it off each time. I'm sorry. Thank you. So they're producing 2,100 gallons of water per minute, and they have pressurized water to Periwinkle, down Periwinkle to East Gulf Drive, to Lindgren Boulevard, to East Gulf Drive, and now they're heading west into East Gulf Drive. So they're really moving along, and as I said the other night, this is not easy work. There's debris down all over the place where their lines are, so it's great work moving forward. Sanibel Fire, they responded to 2 heat-related illnesses today. Nobody had to be transported. We heard about a broken wrist that the mayor told me about just before we started. The USAR task force is still continuing their operation. We saw them on the east end of the island when we were there today, with a large number of people from multiple states responding to this effort. As I said before, they're not entering homes unless there's a need to, because they believe somebody is there and needs assistance. Fire service continues to be just 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And we have 4 engines, 2 that are at Station 1 and 2 that are Station 2 that have come from out-of-state entities, and one of the trucks is on Captiva, so that's what makes up a strike force. So we're grateful that they are here because we have that limited fire suppression service. The Island Pass operation, which is in the room next door, continues to go very well. We're doing about 130 passes per day for resident passes and commercial passes. The insurance industry passes started today, and we gave out 175 that are prepared, ready for them to pick up. So that's moving really well. Property managers also are being issued, and that's going well too. Just want to remind property managers to make sure that you have a BTR, a business tax receipt, and that you have your client list on where you're going. That can be contracts or notarized letters, affidavits that you have the right to go into that home. So the barge service I mentioned is running well. So here's the next stage of that funkiness that we're working through. And we do have a plan on how to make this work. I've said on previous briefings that contractors want to get on the island to help you. They want to be able to mitigate the mold and spreading of the mold in your properties. And if you were on the island today near the boat ramp, you'll see how busy that is. There was when our boat was arriving this morning, the mayor and I, we rode on the police boat. There was one large barge that was docked. There were the passenger boats that were bringing staff on that were coming in and out of the main boat ramp area that we all know. And then there was another very large barge coming in to serve, the federal support that was coming in. So it's busy, and there's just the usual watercraft that are out there. So we're getting ready to be able to introduce this next element of contractors coming in with their own barges. And I've talked with a couple of the contractors, and they know that we cannot bring them in on the assets that we have because we're going to continue to run our operations. And I know that they have their own barges and they're ready to move forward with that. I just need another day, another 2 days. It's just to make sure that the assets that we have and that we're managing the waterfront safely before we can let this happen. But I think we're getting really close to doing that. The other component of this that the chief is comfortable with, and we talked about it today, is when we know that the contractors come back on, they need their vehicles to get around. And a contractor who might have had 5 crew members in the past might have 30. So we talked about the additional passes that might be needed, and then the vehicular traffic that would be on the island to make sure that we're comfortable managing that. He had a great idea. Can we open up make it a priority to open up the shared use path so pedestrians who are now walking in the road or biking in the road can move to the shared use path. But there also are many challenges to that, not just debris that we can push out. There's power lines and power poles and all of that are in the way. But I think that we have a plan that when we're ready to launch it, that we'll be able to get that. And we know that it's a rush against time in order to prevent the mold. But we have to control the waterfront area because it was just chaotic, and make sure that the assets coming in from our federal partners that we're all on defined missions, and also to get our assets back on the island could be accomplished. Last comment I have, I mentioned this last night, is that we have people who are working on bringing top officials from the National Flood Insurance Program on Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. And I think Dave said at the end of yesterday's meeting when I was walking out, it was going to be October 18th.
That's last I heard from Chris Hydrick, yes.
Right, so we're working on that to get experts here to be able to help you with that. We had a brief introduction to that with a FEMA representative yesterday, but we will get people who have more information to be able to help you through those. Some people find it easy, other people don't. But it is a maze, and because you can't reach folks quickly to help you, having them here will be really beneficial to our community. That's all that I have. I'll ask Councilor Miller before we go to questions if he has anything that.
I have one question.
Yes, sir.
Crowder Golf, do they still have vehicles and equipment in a queue waiting to get to the island, or?
They do, and that's every day. Every day that queue will be there, and the queue is now increasing with LCEC vehicles. So we're moving them on with Crowder Gulf barges, and then LCEC also has a barge that they'll be bringing in, and that will be a continuation of different assets that need to come in. I mentioned that we were going to have mobile medical units that would be spread around the community. We have a FEMA central location for their command station, incident command that will be set up near the Big Art Center in the city-owned parking lot. So we have a number of other assets that have to come in as we get ready to return.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. I'm happy to take any questions. Yes, sir.
I'm confused, you talked a little bit about the structural safety inspections and then the USAR, and I'm confused, are both going on or just one? And can you kind of go around that a bit for me?
Yeah, sure. So we had mobilized our structural safety inspection team, and they were ready. They went out that one day. It's the night before that. So the USAR team, we knew that the USAR team was in there, and they were completing door to door or that knock and go, looking for people that might need help. What we didn't know is that the USAR team was also doing the structural inspections. They're equipped to do that, they're trained to do that, and they were doing it countywide. You can go to the county website and you can see all the structures that they've inspected countywide. So we didn't want to lose a day in case that data wasn't relevant to what, for us. So our structural team went out and did that work that day. But as it turned out that the USAR team is doing the comprehensive review of structures, and they work for FEMA, right? So they're part of FEMA, and then the data that they provide goes directly into FEMA's system. I hope that clears that up.
So the SSI is done?
No, well, we might bring the SSI back in for if we have additional work that we might need to do. But from that perspective, the USAR team did complete it, and because they airdropped people into the island when we were still getting everybody organized, they were able to move through the island quicker than us.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank
So I have two questions. Do you need my name, or this isn't a meeting? Okay. One is, when my husband and I are not planning to go to the island because it's dangerous and because we got amazing drone pictures, like 100 or more, for the Sundial Resort, just one section of it. I don't know if those pictures if you would want them, but the resort West took the pictures, Sundial West. I saw here, yesterday someone was telling me you could take pontoon boats out to the island and you just pay $50 or, there are different ways to get out there. So we're not planning to go there, but other people are. And I just wondered about clarity. People might want clarity because we got the Lee County Government Communications this morning that says the Coast Guard will continue to enforce all commercial vessel regulations. As a reminder, documented vessels may not be employed in any trade other than the trade endorsed upon the vessel's certificate of documentation. A vessel documented exclusively as a recreational vessel may not be used for any other purpose. Any consideration, payment, economic benefit, inducement, right, or profit contributed as a condition of carriage on a vessel constitutes passenger service and must comply with all inspected or uninspected passenger vessel regulations. Now, I'm not planning on going, at least at this point, but I think anybody who is offering a service at this point, I wondered if they could relax some of those rules. It's beyond my, but just so that people could reimburse people who are willing to use their vessel, their fuel, their time as a trade to bring people over. So just some clarity on that.
I guess my first comment is trust the Coast Guard and trust the people that are trying to ensure that you're safe on the water, and that's what that's all about. So I'll trust the Coast Guard. They're trying to make sure that you're safe on the water, and I'll just use this as an example. If I own a pleasure craft and I'm a recreational boater and you need to get to the island and I do that as a friend, right, then I can help you do that. But if I'm going to charge you, I can't do that. I'm not licensed, I'm not insured, I don't have the credentials to be able to do that for you. And that's what that message is about. It's about making sure that you get, if you're going to use a commercial operation, that you have somebody who you know is licensed and certified, and if the Coast Guard does make a stop, and they do stop vessels, that they make sure that you're operating right. But it's mostly about safety, because if I get in rough seas and I don't know what I'm doing and I have my boat overloaded because I'm making money, quick money, then that's unsafe for everybody.
Could I add one comment on that, sir?
And as you recall, several days ago, there is a site that's being made, and it's a third-party site. It is not an endorsement, but that's exactly what they were trying to do. They were going through, they were vetting for insurance, the commercial license of those charter captains in this area that are qualified and licensed to do so. That was the reason for that list, so you would not find yourself in a position that you're with somebody that is unskilled on the water and trying to take an advantage of the situation.
And I'll just say again, it's not an endorsement of any organization. We want all captains who work in our area licensed and insured. We want them all to be successful, and we know that they want to help. So it's a resource for you if you wanted to check that. Question, yes, sir?
Just to piggyback on what this young lady was asking.
Let us give you the microphone.
To piggyback on what she was saying, I just drove over from Fort Lauderdale and I got my bike in the truck. I've arranged for a friend of mine who has a small, smaller-ish boat in Cape Coral, and he's willing to take me up the river to bring me in. Do we have any place where I could hop off, get on my bike, and ride over to Lake Murex tomorrow? I'll stick with my truck tonight, but.
You can do that from the beach. You can do that, but you cannot do it from the boat ramp.
Okay.
So we're not endorsing any private locations either. Yeah.
Right. I'm thinking probably the closest place is somewhere on the Bayside, but he knows better than I do on how to get over to like the West Wind. West Wind Inn would be right across from me, right there. But I got my pass today, and I got all my paperwork and everything. Got to charge my phone overnight, for pictures, but. Yeah, so sleep in the truck and get it done tomorrow and get back out before 7.
Just a question, since did the registration process for you getting the pass go smoothly?
Piece of cake.
Piece of cake, great.
Very well done from the front. From the girls in the front, they guided me back there. It was perfect. Easy. Every questions were answered. I got some others I'll talk to you about afterwards. I'll find about electric and stuff like that. Bill's coming in still if they're going to or not. So I'll talk to you later.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank
Well
you.
done, guys.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Don't leave yet.
Yes, I'm Gary Vrogendue, and we live in a historic house, the old post office on Ferry Road, residence. I'm also a senior fellow in disaster management, and I want to tell you, looking at it as a professional, this is the most professional response that I've seen anywhere, honest. And that's just not fanboy, that's real. The second part, and I don't know who to send it to, so help me out. When I was driving down here, I had one of my colleagues create a list of mental health sites for people that are specifically disaster, for residents, for veterans. We have like 15 sites. And as the mayor talked about, researched mental health and disasters and published on it, and some of the things she talked about, frustration, anxiety, but there are also more serious things, flashbacks, nightmares, and suicidal thoughts. So I'll get this site, all these sites to you, and if possibly we could publish them or get them out to people, that would be great. And then, I guess I'm a professor also, so I always have one more comment. You guys are running 1,000 sprints, and it's going to turn into an ultra marathon. And so, probably you've already looked at it, but starting enforcing work rest cycles and days off and all of that, you all deserve it. We need you in the long term. Please take that into consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. And maybe Crystal is sitting right in front of you. Maybe you could share those websites with Crystal, and then thank you very much.
Perfect.
Yes, sir.
We're working with the insurance people online. Thank you. We're working with the insurance companies, and we've got a particular company that has over 100 losses on the island. We're building consultants. We specialize in custom luxury properties and the rebuilding, and we've been through many of these disasters and things like that. We're here to support the insurance company and ask the insurance company to be here and be able to try to observe some of the properties, look at the properties, help them assess some of the damages. However, I don't carry an insurance adjuster's license because I'm not an insurance adjuster. We're having some difficulty being able to support the insurance company at the request of the insurance company to get here. Is there anything you can tell me on that?
Well, if you're working for the insurance company, then the insurance company just can follow the same process we have for adjusters. We've said It can be agents or other professionals that they need to bring in to assess a client's property. But what we don't want doing, and I just want to be clear, I don't think this is part of your question, but we're not going to authorize people to go out there and solicit business.
No, not whatsoever.
But if you're affiliated with an insurance company and you're part of that team, all they have to do is submit your name and you'll get the same pass that others have.
That's not true. It didn't happen today, and we've struggled all day today to try and.
Okay, well, see me after, and I've said all the time, we're filling holes, right?
I appreciate it.
It's all new, so if that's a hole, we'll help fill it.
Completely appreciate it.
Yes,
Thank you very much.
Yes. Yes.
Hi, Bob Moore. Just want to make a comment to share in the event that anyone is in similar position than me, and this might be helpful. Prior to the storm, I with Citizens Insurance, I was told my wind insurance was being dropped because my house, the price of the replacement value of my house was above the Citizens threshold. So I was in a sort of a rough situation where my insurance is about to end, and it's going to be difficult to renew in a new policy. And I learned today that there's been a state order that insurance companies are not allowed to not renew. So I was actually able to renew with Citizens today and fill that gap. So if there's other people in that position, you may want to check that out.
Thank you for that, Bob.
Yep.
Any other questions? Okay, well, that will end our session. I just want to say thank you to our staff who made sure that even though we're in the middle of the disaster, we received our Breast Cancer Awareness Month t-shirts. Even though we're in the middle of our disaster, we have to make sure that we're still remain connected to our lives, and that's part of it, right? Recognizing what's going on in our outside world and the chaos that we've been thrown into. But please support Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Thank you, everybody. Oh, one more question. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
One more. Let's get you the microphone. And,
I can talk loud.
yeah, it's for the folks who are joining us remotely.
Ann and I have been off the island and the other coast watching these shows every night. But my question is, I've seen a picture of our store, and our sign is out, not standing anymore, but it's there, and it's laying in brush where we had what's the tree name? Sea grape tree. It's fallen into where the bike path is. So, will your cleanup, please? I don't want them to take our sign.
Okay.
So and
See me after, and we'll get the name of your business, and we'll sue you.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. Wish you a great night, and we'll see you tomorrow at 5 o'clock.